Hello my fellow readers, in this video I'm going to be talking about The Boy I Loved Became the Jaded Emperor, and this is a fairy tale shoujo romance story. I know it's surprising, right? Like, I totally never read these and I totally don't love them. This one tells the story, or at least it starts with the story of a young boy who is murdered. I know, it starts really dark. He's murdered, but he has this ability where he comes back to life. So he comes back to life having been killed and tossed aside into the forest, and he's promptly killed by wild animals. And then he comes to life again. And in this death and rebirth thing, he ends up being found by this not attractive being who she says she's a person, and I'm gonna believe that. She's not conventionally attractive. And I think she is like an old character by the time she finds him in the woods. And the two of them find family in one another. And they give each other names. She calls the boy Ham, and he calls her Pie. And they live together for about 3 years. She takes care of him. She introduces him to the beasts of the woods. And they just have a very calming, sweet relationship. And then we see in the background his kingdom, where I believe it's like forecasted, it's predicted about what happened to him, and the person says that, you know, he's still alive. And so suddenly they're out there trying to find him. And in this course of them finding him, they end up, one, killing a lot of the magical beasts in the woods, and then two, they end up killing Pie. And this really affects him as a character. Now, his real name is Alexei. She does not know this. She, again, just knew him as Pie, the young boy that she took care of. But Ham, again, not normal. I said when he was killed before he's able to come back to life. In the tragedy of Pie being slaughtered, he sends out his power into her, trying to get her to live. And what it does is actually reincarnate her soul into a new person. So she is born in a new life, and that is who we have here. So this is Eleonora, and Eleonora, when she's born a baby, has the memories of Pie and grows up. And then it's like your basic kind of reincarnation story of she has the memories and is trying to, she's not really trying to redo her life, but she does kind of wonder whatever happened to him and always wishes that she could meet him again. She was born into a noble family this time around, so she is pretty and has traditionally good looks. So like the polar opposite of her previous life. And the only problem, again, this has fairy tale elements, and that includes with like what happened with Alexei and being murdered when he was young. In this case, after she is born, if I remember her, it's weird, it's never explained why this is, but her mother didn't form a bond with her when she was a baby, and then when she's a little girl, her mother falls ill and dies. Her father ends up soon remarrying a woman with a daughter, and so in much the fairy tale-esque way, Eleonora ends up being like sent to a smaller house of theirs, so she doesn't even live with the main family, and kind of mistreated. But she doesn't really mind, because since she has the memories of like Pie, she knows how to like take care of herself, but she's also still permitted more opportunities than she would have had when she was Pie. So she has like a private tutor. She's allowed to like garden. She learns how to make pies because that was always Ham's favorite. And it's just I don't know, that part's really sweet. But the whole time, like, she's learning how to do these things, she still misses Ham and she wonders where he is. Again, as a noble lady, much like other, you know, fantasy shoujo with fairy tale vibes, she gets invited, or her family gets invited to a ball because the Emperor Alexei is at like a marriageable age. Yes, I said that right. So they're looking for someone for him, I'm sure. That part isn't really resolved, but I'm sure they're trying to get him, you know, interested in a girl to become the Empress. Anywho, this, the two end up meeting at this ball, and really from the first introduction of Alexei into the room, she comments about how much he looks like Ham, but she doesn't acknowledge that that is him because his expressions and his eyes are so different. He has really been wounded. I mean, here's the thing, he's been wounded greatly by the murder of his caretaker and someone he loved as family, who was Pi. And so that really has made him a hardened person. He's dealing with tragedy and sadness. He can't really forget the soldiers that did the murder. He's still upset about the whole perception of the beasts and the slaughter of them. So he's been dealing with a lot of stuff. And thus, now that it's like many years after the time when she knew him, I mean, she's like girl age. And let me think. How many years has it been? I'm going to say it's at least 16 years. Because I think she's around that age. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's been around there. Because now she would be like, you know, marriageable age, and he's in his 20s. But since that time, you know, a lot has happened. So, again, you're thinking about, Pi is thinking about the Ham that she knew, this young boy who was so loving and caring. And she never knew his backstory. She didn't know. I think he tried to tell her once that he had this weird power, but she never really knew what that was. I think if she had known that he had more powers, maybe it would have been different. I don't know. And I think that powers are also something that maybe is more, I would say maybe it's more nobility based, but I'm not really sure, because it does turn out that Eleonora has abilities, but I do wonder with her whether that is from the magic that he imbued into her. Anyway, that's besides the point. There's really just at this stage, there's this unrecognition between the two, because of course Alexei wouldn't think that Eleonora is Pi, because she's this beautiful young girl, and Pi doesn't think that Alexei is Ham, because one, he's the emperor, and he had never mentioned that he was from a royal family, and two, he seems so cold and distant, and she just can't imagine how Ham would become that type of person, even though she acknowledges that the eye color and the hair color and his facial expression, like his looks, look very similar to the boy that she knew. She can't imagine that it's him. And so, kind of hidden identities. However, they have this very interesting conversation at this party where Eleonora asked, I think, for Pi. Like she wanted to taste some, so she had mentioned it to somebody that that's what she wanted. And so a pie was brought in for her to taste. Alexei sees it and kind of freaks out because he's like, why is there pie here? It's not allowed, whatever. And so she begs him. She's like, it's my second favorite food. Please don't get rid of it. I really love it. And he's like, oh, if that's your second favorite, what's your first favorite food? And she's like, ham. And so those two words kind of triggered in Alexei that memory, and it made him curious about who Eleonora is. And so from that, he actually ends up inviting Eleonora back to like have tea with him and meet with him and stuff. So it was just the start of a new relationship for them. And that is mostly volume 1. Volume 2, there is more that happens. I have started volume 2, but I don't want to get too much into it, other than more stuff gets acknowledged and revealed. And so I'm interested to see, like, how far this series goes and where. So far, I really like all of it. I think that we see like this tragedy with Alexi's story, but also even for Eleonora and of course Pi. There's also a lot of like tragic things that happened, but also I love that it's about overcoming that and about found family and love. I am assuming that this will turn into a love story between these two, even though that's a little weird. It's also kind of sweet because they were always family, you know, in their hearts. So it would be kind of sweet even if they end up together. But yeah, that is what this is about. And I was completely surprised because when I said the boy I love became a jaded emperor, I was imagining like, you know, like childhood friends or something to like discovery older, and instead it's like a reincarnation story. But it is super fun so far. I really like it. I like the emotional highs and lows. I like the characters themselves. I like that there is a lot of like political intrigue in the background that I think might come to play more within it as well. But I would recommend this one if you like shoujo, you like fairy tales. Again, this is a great time for romantasy, and I think a lot of romantasy readers should be giving manga and light novels a try, because there's a lot of great ones that might appeal to your interest there as well. I've always liked them both, so that is it for this video. Until next time, bye.